Ladies and gentlemen, it is Jay here with Low Code, where code is optional, but results are not. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a fun one today. Today, we're going to be playing with Supabase Presence, which I guess you can think of it kind of like Google Documents or like Figma, where you can see like who's currently active in the document or the application and what they're doing. Now, we're not going to get into very advanced stuff. The most we're going to do is kind of show like that users sort of list where they have like their pictures and stuff. That's how far we're going to get in this video, but I did have a lot of fun with this, so I'm really excited to get into it. So before we do that though, if you are interested in any of the code or any templates or anything else that I might build in the future, click the first link in the description. That will be to our paid community, which is starting very soon. And that will be the only way to get access to code and such that I write and pretty much any exclusivities, I guess you could say, um, that comes in the future. So also, if you learned anything from this video, if it provides you any value, do me a solid and like this video, comment on what you'd like to see more of, and subscribe for more content. Much appreciated. Now, let's get briefly into the sort of setup that we have here. So all I have here in Nordcraft is a couple of things. One, I'll start with my keys because, of course, we're going to be needing that since we're working with the SDK here to have that presence features. We have to use the SDK. So we have our keys here. So here's my URL and my anon key. I'm just storing that there. And then a couple of things that we have is I have this Supabase load code right here. I'll pause it. I'll probably increase it a little bit so you can see it better. But all this is doing is that we are importing the Supabase SDK, and then I'm attaching it to the window, and then we're dispatching an event. Now, a quick little tangent, or I guess little side thing here is when I'm working with SDKs or anything like that, I like to use events to know when said thing is ready for active use. Meaning, even if, for example, I'm going to quickly open my presence one here, but don't really pay attention to it. But even if I have this presence one here, I'll say Supabase is ready, and I will go back to my load and I will console log Supabase loaded. Or let me actually put that here. Then back here, I'll say it's ready for use. So what will happen is that, let's say I go to my app provider, which wraps every single page of my application where we have that load event, is even if I have that Supabase presence one before the load event here, if I open it in a new tab and I go to the console, we'll see that I get the Supabase loaded first before Supabase is ready for use. So this way we kind of avoid race conditions where you might want to use Supabase, but it hasn't actually loaded the SDK yet. So just a quick little tip there is to use events and then use some sort of callback right in here to get that event. Yeah. Okay, let me just reset things really quickly here. Let's get rid of that. So back here in the Supabase load, again, it's just loading the SDK and we're attaching it to the window. Nothing special here. I have this attached to my app provider on load, and my app provider is on every single page of my application, which means that I'll be able to use Supabase anywhere I want in the application. Today, we're going to be working on the home page here, and the code that we're going to be messing with will be in the Supabase provider action right here. So in this Supabase presence, or I said provider, but Supabase presence, what I meant. In the Supabase presence action, I have that callback where it's waiting for that event to be fired before we actually start running this code. And then here we're actually using that function. I really wish, Nordcraft, that you should really allow the calling of actions and other actions, I guess you can say, because I would love to have this in just one spot and be able to use it in my other actions. That's definitely needed. That's definitely needed. But for this, actually, let me go ahead and open the SDK on my other screen here, just so I have something to reference. Okay. So we're going to play with presence. Now, the way I'll go about this is I'll kind of write the code and explain a little bit of what's going on as I do so. But then once everything's kind of written, then I will explain it more thoroughly. But what we're going to do is when you're working with presence, you need some kind of channel. You think of it kind of like a chat room. You need some kind of channel for people to subscribe to be able to receive these events. So that's the first thing that we're going to do is that I'm going to, if you see me looking over to my left here, it's because I'm looking at the documentation and such, is we're going to do const room one, and we're going to set that equal to supabase.channel. And this is where you can give a name for your channel. For this video, I'll be doing room #01. Okay. Then we need to handle the different events that can happen in presence. And the three events are sync, join, and leave. Join and leave, they're kind of self-explanatory. So when someone joins, we want to know who they are. When they leave, we want to know who left. And then sync is basically, as Supabase describes in the documentation, everyone gets a little slice of state. And when someone's specific slice of state changes, it sends a sync event. You want to send a sync event to everyone else that being like, hey, something changed in me. You know, you might need this type of thing. Okay. So we have to handle every single event sorry. So we have to what? So we have to handle every single event for presence. So for that, we're going to do room one, and I'm going to just go to a new line here, and I'm going to say on presence. And then the first event we're going to work with is the sync one, right? So this will be all the new sync events that we get. So for this, I'll just say const state, and we'll set this to room one. And to get access to the current state, it is the name of your channel or the variable of your channel, and then presence state like so. And then for now, we'll just console log sync, and I can type Jesus and log the state. Okay. So the next one we're going to do is for, I guess we can do join. And that does give us a few things. That gives us a key as well as, what is it? New presences, I believe. New presences like that. And again, we're just going to console log that again. So we'll say join, and then we'll log the key as well as the new presences. And then lastly, we have the leave one. And we do get some as well here. I think that's key and left presences. Yeah, like so. And then we're going to console log the same thing. And then lastly, what we need is just to subscribe. Oh, that's not how you spell that. Subscribe like so. Okay, so now let's go to the home page, and I just want to unload. I want to fire off that Supabase Presence code like so. Okay, so now we see that if we refresh, we should get the sync event. There it is. It took a second, but there is the sync event. But what you're going to see is that even if I open this same page in a different tab, we're not getting any new messages. We're not getting any joins or anything like that. That's because we have to decide what we want to send to new users when someone subscribes. So to do that, we're going to come back over here to the presence code. And in this subscribe, what I'm going to do, this gives you access to status status. And we're going to use this to check if someone is subscribed. So we'll do if status, and we'll say if it's not equal to subscribed in all caps, that we just want to return because we don't want you to receive this message. So to send these changes in state, we have to use track, and that is a new function that we haven't used yet. And to do that, we're going to do room one and then track, and then we can send a object. So this is where you would probably grab like your user ID, any images, things like that that you want to use for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to do like, I guess, you know what? Let's create a sort of we'll have like pseudo, whatever the word is, pseudo users, I guess. I'll create a session ID by doing crypto dot random UUID. And then I will say user ID is equal to that session ID. I guess I can change this to this user ID actually. User ID. And we just pass that. Right? Yeah, let's go with that. So now when someone new joins, we're going to get their user ID and that's going to be logged here in the join. So if we go back here, I'll close this. If we go back here and I refresh, you see we get joined and this is our key right here. But you can also see that if we open this, I'm not sure how we can see that. I'll zoom in. You can see that if we open this, we can see that that user ID is the one that was created for us, right? And then now if we open this in another tab, we should get another join. There it is. And then now you see we have two keys here for the different instances or different connections to the channel. And you see that if I open this one, it is a different user ID than that one. You also get like a presence reference as well. So now how can we kind of use this? So for this tutorial, I already have this image prepared. So I'm going to come back, I'm going to close this and come back into the code here. And I'm going to paste this code. It's just an image that I have that I got off of Unsplash just for the sake of this tutorial. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to attach it to the object that we're sending when someone joins. So I'll say image and I will just sync that to the image like so. Yes, everyone's going to get the same image. I'm sorry, I didn't put in like actual user authentication and stuff like that here, but everyone's going to have the same static image. So then what we're going to do in the sync here, I'm just going to get the list of users and their images, and I'm going to send that to the front end so that we can actually make some use of it. So I am going to be copying some code that I have when I was testing. So I can say const users equals an array. And then for const, and we're not going to use the key, so I'm going to use the underline there. Let me move my mic up here so you can still hear me. Presences of object entries and then state. Then what we'll do is we'll say for const presence of presences, we will do users dot push, and we're going to push the user. So whatever we have from the user like so, and then as well, like the image like that. So now we can just log, I just realized I made that user instead of users. And then we'll just log the users. So let's go back and we will refresh. And we'll see now we get our users array. And I see that that is not correct. We got the image. Oh, sorry. I named it. This should just be the user ID. Let's go like that. There we go. Yeah, now you see we have a user ID and the image. And then if we open this in another tab, it should just add to that list. So now you see we have two here. And now we have both users and their IDs as well as their image. All right, cool. Okay. So now what we can do with this is that we can send this to our front end. And I already have the users event here. And it's just a JSON of the users. Actually, I'm now realizing this won't be accurate. So what we'll do, so let me see here. Yeah, this won't be accurate anymore. So we have users, but we no longer have this user. We just have the user. Oh, no, we do have users still. No, this might be okay. Never mind. Yeah, that should be okay still. Okay, so it's just a example object of what we're sending. So what we're going to do is we're going to do CTX and trigger custom or trigger action event. And I'm going to do users. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send the users as well as the length. I'll do users length like that. I don't really need to, but I'm just going to include it because I can. And we'll do users.length like so. Okay. So now we can now use this in Nordcraft. Well, we're already using it in Nordcraft, but I kind of meant like in the actual UI. Okay. So let's go to the home page and we can call this users. We can set it to null for now. And then I can go to onload and then to this users event that we have. And then I will set users to the users as well as the users length. And then we'll just start building the UI for it. So I will get my section component. Actually, no, let's get a normal section. You can get my container component. There we go. And then let's have a content inside of it. I don't know what changes they made here, but it made searching for my things a little bit harder. Content. And then what else did I have in here? I think we just have the avatar on this. These two here, these are from my sort of template, my boilerplate. It's just a container, just a div with some padding and a max width. And this is just a flex with some default spacing, as you can see right here. That's currently set to 1 rem. And then this avatar comes from Spark 1 or Spark Core. So you can get that code if you want. All right. And you can see that that gives us this little sort of avatar here. I'm going to add some padding here so it's not touching like that. There we go. And I just want to assign this to the right side. And this avatar, we're going to repeat this based off of users and get users. Yeah. So, and then after that, I want to set the image to item. And I know that it's going to be the image in there. So let's see if that works. Yes, we get 2 people. And the reason we get 2 is because it's counting the editor as 1 and then this tab. So we get 2. And then I just want these to be aligned. Oops, what happened there? To be aligned, we'll have no spacing. And then why don't we do some negative margin just so they're overlapping a little bit. There we go. All right. So now you can see they're kind of small. I'll make them bigger. Hold on a minute. Let's go like 4 rem, I guess. Make them slightly bigger. Let's go with like 8, even though that might be too big, but there we go. So now we have our 2 people here. And we'll see that if I open this again in a new tab and we go back, we see that we get a 3rd one. Nice. Very cool. Very cool. So, and then if we close this, one should leave. And there you go. That's how we deal with presence. And if we want to get a little bit fancy with it, just because we can, why don't we have a div here, which I'll just go grab the CSS for the avatar and I'll paste it here so it's the same. And I'll actually just set this instead of the outline to a background color like so. And then inside of that, I can have a paragraph, some text, and we'll just have like a plus. And then we'll go and concatenate this. Then we'll set this to users and get users length. And then since we want to I'm only going to show 2, so I'll do minus. And what happened there? It's supposed to be 2. Right? And then how do I get this to, have to reload? Because I should be able to get the information that gets attached to user. So do I get, yeah, there we go. Now we get it. Okay, so I don't need to use these, but I guess we can fix that for the sake of this video. So instead of this, we can get rid of that and attach it to users. And then here, instead of this, we can just get users of length. And then, yeah, and we only want to show this if user's length is greater than 2. All right, let's refresh to see what happens. So if I open this again in a new tab, we should get, maybe not. Okay, something, wait. Okay, wait. Sorry. We have to do a hide here. And we want to do if index is, I guess, less than 1, right? Or less than 2. So we should show 2. There we go. Okay. So now even if we open more of them, it should just update that number, I believe. Yeah, there we go. Now we got +2 all around. So there you go. That's how presence works in Supabase and how you can use it with Nordcraft. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, if you learned anything, do me a solid and like this video, comment on what you'd like to see more of, and subscribe for more content. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, happy building.